Good evening, everyone. My name's Kerry Deacon. I am with the Community Safety team in Southwest region, and we're bringing tonight fire safety essentials for people in Cressy and surrounds. Now, presenting with me is Lisa Parker. So even if you can't see our faces, it'll be the two voices talking to you this evening. Before we go any further, I shall do an acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we are gathered and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We're meeting tonight via webinar rather than a Zoom meeting. So this means you can't turn on your video or audio. It will be Lisa and I whose voices you hear. You'll be able to interact by answering polls, which are little questionnaires that we put up. I think we have about 4, maybe 5 for tonight. You'll be able to interact that way or by chat. Lisa has reminded me to let you know that this session is being recorded, and that's so that people can view it later if they couldn't make 7 o'clock tonight. The recording will only be of the presentation and myself talking. We'll be showing you animations, a short video and some photographs throughout the session. The PowerPoint slides really will be by way of background, so they won't be overdone. They just help me keep to time, really. And we do want you to interact throughout the session.
Welcome, Jade. We have Jade popped on.
Hello, Jade.
Terry.
Okay, we engage through the polls. As you can see by the slide, the answers are anonymous. We can't see who has answered what. We scroll through to see the responses, and I will share them. So you can see what I see. It gives percentage ratings for the multiple choice answers. The other way to communicate with Lisa and myself is to use the chat function. So if you hover your mouse over the chat function, the little speech bubble, or touch it if you have a different sort of device, you'll see a speech box appear, and that's where you can chat to Lisa and myself. And we'll be answering any questions as we go through the session today. If you need help at all during the presentation, use the chat function to ask your question to the panelists, that's Lisa and myself, and to talk to only the panelists. You choose panelist instead of everyone for chatting. Let's have a practice. So to answer in chat, where are you joining us from tonight? Because Lisa and I are assuming it's Cressy, but on occasions we've had people from a little out of town.
Cressy. Jade's in Cressy.
Cressy? Fantastic. That's 100% rating, Lisa.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay. The poll function's coming up next. So to use the poll, you should see, if we've given Lisa the right buttons, you should see the poll come up. Have you got that function, Lisa?
Yep, launch poll.
Fantastic.
Yep.
So in fact, there should be 4 questions there. You'll need to scroll down to see the last 2. How long have you lived in the area? Have you been to a CFA meeting before? How did you feel about this session, and how would you rate your knowledge around fire? All right, I'll give people another 10 seconds. Okay.
End the poll now.
End the poll.
Yep.
And share the results. Thanks, Lisa.
Okay. So Jade's been living in Cressy for 1 to 5 years.
Great.
She's not been to a CFA meeting before.
Okay, well, thank you for joining in, Jade.
Heard about the session on social media.
Fantastic.
CFA session. And then she rates her knowledge around fire as medium.
Okay. Well,
Well done.
question is asked again at the end of the session, so we'll be able to see whether we've helped you with your knowledge of fire or otherwise. All right, now the next one is the last little bit of admin before we really get going. If there are children within vicinity of the screens, it's a good idea to set up your kids with a different activity to keep them entertained or occupied. I know that that can be a bit of a challenge, but when we're talking about fire, it does get serious, and there may be some things that you don't wish your children to be party to. So if you need to attend to your kids, turn off the camera and rejoin when you're ready. Here we have the objectives for learning. I'm sorry, I'll just fix that screen. We aim to help your understanding of local fire risks. We aim to help you know what to expect from fire in the landscape, how you know if there's a fire in the landscape, your planning and decision making in a fire threat situation, and surviving if the plan that you have fails or if you get caught out for some reason. You won't need to take notes at all. At the end of the session, there should be a link to our further resources and information. They're on the CFA website as well. Some of the content that you may be seeing, or that you will be seeing today, may be distressing, especially for those that have experience with fire. If you need to take time away from the screen, please do so and rejoin us when you're ready. We've got 3 videos and I'll let you know what those videos take. And I'll let you know so that you do have the chance to step away if you need to. First part of our material is understanding local fire risks. And the next slide is telling us that Victoria is one of the most bushfire-prone parts of the world. In fact, probably the most. We're certainly challenging parts of America like California for that particular prestige. The risk is different throughout the state, and the slide doesn't show only the landscape around Cressy. It shows different landscapes around our state. So we are divided into regions, and I'll explain that, why that happens. In fact, here we are. This is a map of districts for the purposes of weather and fire danger ratings. The area of Cressy is in the southwest region, which is the blue-grey down, of course, in the left-hand side of the screen. When weather or fire danger ratings are given, these are the districts to which they refer. So we'll explain that later, but southwest is the region we're interested in because that's where the lovely Cressy is. Another thing we need to take into consideration is the seasonal outlook. This describes the overall weather trend of what is happening in your weather district. The latest weather data shows our part of Victoria is forecast to have a wet spring. And indeed, we're having that. The last few days have shown anything from sunshine through to rain, and quite a bit of rain. This is predicted to lead to a continued strong grass growth and the potential of increased grass fire conditions once the vegetation dries out. I did speak with your brigade captain today, who told me that it's very green around Cressy. I'm not there at the moment. And that he thinks even when the crops dry out, which may be the other side of Christmas, that's when it will present a fire risk because it's a fuel for fire. Lisa, do you have anything to add there? No, okay.
No, not at this stage.
You see how much notice I give you for these questions, Lisa?
Yeah.
Okay, Cressy and its surrounds have large areas of grassed paddocks, with some areas of bushlands or rows of trees. Now, because you live near grasslands, you need to understand the risks that come with fast-moving grass fires, especially as they've been a feature in the seasonal outlook for the state. In chat, could you please pop in your response for the question, what type of landscape do you think you have in your area? Is it grassland, bushland, woodland, or coastal growth?
Jade mentioned grassland.
Grassland is spot on. That's the answer we were angling towards.
Do you have any crops, Jade? Are you on a farm or? She put into chat. No, she's residential. So Jade's residential to Cressy, so she's in town there.
Right, although Cressy isn't the largest of towns, so if a fire
no, it's tiny,
really takes off and runs,
yep.
It can still pose a threat to the town.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so having a plan is the best way of sorting yourself out, knowing what to do before any event actually happens. Open grassland is susceptible to the wind and therefore to fast-running grass fires. The fire starts to seek its fuel and gains momentum. The direction of the wind will determine the direction of the fire. Once grass is cured, which means completely dry, fast-moving grass fires can come from any direction, depending on the wind, even from the southwest. And in the southwest region, we've had some significant fires that have come with southwest winds.
Yep.
Okay, trees on road reserves and bush reserves will generate embers, spreading the fire ahead of the actual fire itself and creating numerous small fires ahead of the main front. Sorry, Lisa, tell me.
No, sorry. With coming into Cressy, you've got the increased blue gum and the plantation surrounding now, which also will increase your fire risk, Jade, when you, even though you're looking at thinking, oh, I live on grassland, but we've got increasing risk with the plantations.
Yes, it all looks like fuel to CFA members. Uphill slope, undulating land will cause the fire to speed up and to move in unexpected directions. For example, if the fire is travelling up a slope, it can be across the direction of the wind. So that's where things start to really become chaotic. Narrow unmade roads with trees and scrub along them make for poor and dangerous access and exit. So overall, this means that if a fire started in and around Cressy, there could be a lot of things that it could burn. It could grow very quickly and it certainly would move very quickly. Lisa, anything further?
And I think one thing to be aware of too, with Cressy, you've got the highway, and so within Cressy, you've only got the highway, that's your one in and that's your one way out, and that can be a very busy road.
Right, so again, a plan for the summer season is an excellent idea. All right, we have another poll. It's rather than Lisa and I tell you what are some things that could make your local area a high risk area, you can tell us.
Yeah, Jade, you can head to Colac, but then, so from the back of, when you're in Cressy, you have to come back out onto the highway to shoot down to Colac? No, so there is a back road from the back of Cressy. That's a back way into Colac though, isn't it? Yep, through BAC. So there's lots of trees and it's probably not your safest option. Is that right? Just waiting for it to pop back up. Yeah, it depends on where the fire is. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yes.
It comes down to the importance of a plan and a
A
backup
plan that has parts, part A, part B, part C, depending on.
Yep. So understanding fire risk poll. There we go.
Okay.
Can you see it, Kerry?
Yes, I can.
Yep. Perfect.
On my other screen.
Yeah.
So what are some things that could make your local area a high risk area? And you're given options, and this one is multiple choice. Just the one question, but you can choose as many or as few as you like. And interestingly, the poll's anonymous. So any answers to any particular attendees.
Yeah.
Jade.
So Jade said 100% for high fuel load. Like, what? There's a lot of concerns, I believe, with them with a high fuel load. And she's got a high tourist area in summer as 0. She hasn't, that's not a high risk for her. Potential speed of grass fires is high risk for her. Numerous grass fires sparked by embers, and tree limbs hanging over all access roads and escape routes. Well done.
Yes, so we start to get, there's the share, so
Did it work?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I'll just take that one down. Okay. So I think we've covered them all. Yes.
I wish I could chat to you guys, but I feel special having my own learning.
Yeah, the risks are pretty much covered there. So you start to get a picture that it's not just a fire threat. There are so many aspects that come with it by way of looking at your own safety. Cressy Brigade capacity. For the 175 people that live in Cressy, well, they did in 2016. I suppose the numbers are around the same. 92 properties and dwellings in the immediate area. Your brigade has 1 truck. So the likelihood of a big red truck coming up your driveway to tell you what's happening with the fire is really highly unlikely. What happens with brigades when there's a fire in the area is they get notified, they go out to where the fire is, rather than, look, if they could visit people in the area, they would love to. If they could pop in and just tell people what's going on, they would really love to do it. But that's not their job when a fire is actually running.
Jade mentioned that she's lucky her husband is a volunteer, CFA volunteer.
Lucky, and it sounds like they're a very smart couple, I would say, Lisa. Yes. So I do have a story of a brigade captain's wife who rang the brigade saying, ooh, the fire is now near the house, what do I do? And he said, stay in the house, close all the doors, everything, because we can't come to help you. So the point of a truck coming to help people is very, very limited. Although, like I said, they would love to. So it's another reason to actually have a plan and practice it ahead of the summer fire season. I'm using summer and fire interchangeably because the two go together, really. Okay, so what we'll do is move on. What to expect from fire. What do you think you would do or expect to happen if a fire started in your area? Victoria has a lot of fires. We see it on the news and otherwise in fire season. 2 summers ago, of course, it was the only thing on the television, the radio, social media. We see incredible images, but unless you've already had the experience, it's hard to imagine what it would be actually like. And Jade, your husband, will have had or will be getting some training in that so that he's ready for the for an event if and when it happens. Now, what we're going to do is show you a video, if I can get the technology to work. Direct flame impact dry fuel run on your property allows a running grass fire to burn right up to the house. Ensure that you have fire breaks or means to break the continuity of fuel, such as driveways, veggie patch, or gravel paths. Ember attack. Nearby or distant burning bush or trees send embers onto properties and houses. That starts numerous small fires in that dry fuel around your house. Ember attack is the biggest cause of property loss during a fire. And we spoke earlier about Cressy and its surrounds, which has lots of paddocks, fields, grass, as well as trees. And that would cause the fires to spread through ember attack or spotting. We're going to play a couple of animations, and even though they are animations, the portrayal is quite realistic. So if you think that it may be distressing for you, move away from the screen, turn the sound down. This first animation is about ember attack, what it happens, what it's like to experience it. It's a 3-minute animation. Now, what I have to do is find where to, oh, I know. Where to play it.
During a bushfire, embers will reach your home long before the flames do. Ember attacks are the most common way that houses catch fire. These are burning leaves, twigs, and pieces of bark. They help the bushfire spread by starting spot fires ahead of the main fire front. Distance ember attacks happen when leaves and small pieces of bark are blown from burning trees. The intense shower of sparks that forms fills the air with hot, burning embers, which will land on nearby vegetation and properties. The hot embers can easily land and get into your clothes and burn your skin, eyes, and airways. Small fires will start all around you. Uncontrollable. The resulting chaos creates confusion and seems to come from many directions. It will be difficult to make good decisions about your safety. The experience will be physically exhausting and emotionally traumatic. Ember attack is caused by large bushfires that generate intense heat. As the hot air rises, it forms a column of smoke that sucks in air like a vacuum, increasing the intensity of the fire. The updraft in the column lifts embers like large pieces of burning ribbon bark hundreds of meters into the air, where strong winds can carry them many kilometers beyond the fire front. On Black Saturday, embers travelled more than 30 kilometres ahead of the main fire. When these embers land, they often start fires where leaves naturally accumulate, like in gutters, doorways, and garden beds. So while you might think you're safe when a bushfire is far away, embers can fall from the sky and land around your home long before you even know there's a fire. But remember, your home isn't the only thing under threat during an ember attack. By the time you realise the danger, it might be too late as escape routes become jammed. Embers can also start fires on roads and block them completely, making late evacuation dangerous or impossible. That's why leaving early, before a fire starts, is always your safest option.
Indeed, leaving early, and that's a message that we will be promoting through the rest of this session because it is the CFA's the CFA's message. Lisa?
Jade, have you experienced fire before? Lost the message. Not a large fire. Yeah, what type of fire have you been, Jade? A house fire or just a small grass fire? So just surrounding grass fires around the Hamilton Highway. Yep. How did you feel during the time of when you saw the fires or knew there was fires in your immediate area? Nervous.
Yeah, it's not a nice feeling. The point is that if you leave the area, you won't be going to experience the Ember Attack or the fire at the side of the road because you're already safe. Okay, guess what? We've got another video straight on top of that one. This one's about radiant heat. So really getting closer to the threat that fire as an element is. We're talking about radiant heat, which can be enough to be lethal. It's certainly severely injure people. It's not actually the flames that are lethal in a fire, it's the radiant heat. People often experience the negative effects of radiant heat well before the flames reach them. Again, if you think you might find this distressing, please move away from the screen. The animation plays for 2.5 minutes. I know how to get it started on this computer now. So we'll have a little chat about it after.
Victoria is one of the most bushfire-prone parts of the world. Every summer, bushfires threaten properties and lives. But did you know it's not the flames that kill most bushfire victims? No, it's the radiant heat. Most victims die from the effects of radiant heat long before they're reached by the flames. Radiant heat is what you feel when you sit next to a campfire. If a campfire heats up to 2 kilowatts per square metre, you'll feel that it's too hot and will want to move back from the fire. If you don't, this amount of radiant heat is enough to cause burns and blisters in as little as 40 seconds. At 12 kilowatts, it can cause some materials like dry timber to ignite. A bushfire can reach 100 kilowatts and the effects can be truly catastrophic. For humans, radiant heat can cause burns from 100 metres away and cause a dangerous increase in body temperature. Radiant heat can cause the rapid onset of heat stroke. Heat stroke damages your brain, meaning you won't be able to concentrate to make good decisions as the fire arrives. Other impacts include severe damage of internal organs and death. There are some things you can do if you're caught in a fire. Cover your skin with long-sleeved, natural fibre clothing, like wool. It's also useful to know that radiant heat only travels in straight lines and can't bend around corners. So, sheltering behind or inside solid structures may help protect you. But be aware, radiant heat will travel straight through glass. The best defense against radiant heat is a simple one. If you're not anywhere near a bushfire, its radiant heat can't hurt you. Leaving early is always your safest option.
Okay, so we hope that that has helped explain why radiant heat is so dangerous. It significantly affects your ability to think clearly and to make good decisions. And again, this is why the CFA says that planning well ahead of any fire threat and that leaving early is the safest option so that you're nowhere near radiant heat. Okay, after major fires, it's common for the CFA to interview people about their experience and find out what happened, just as the sorts of questions that Lisa was just asking you, Jade, to hear people's stories and find out what they would do in the future. On the screen, you can see some quotes from interviews, and I won't read them out to you, but just take a moment to have a look. All right, I'll move on. Again, another little video, which is some takeouts from interview videos. And this one takes less than a minute, but if you're not inclined to watch it, again, it's time to move away for a minute.
10 years ago, when all the dams were full and the tanks were full and there was plenty of water, I probably would have stayed and I would have died. Nothing went the way we might have anticipated.
Whatever preparations you put into place, you only need something small to go wrong.
You know, in future, I don't think we want to put the kids through that sort of trauma. Yeah, would put
If we had no jail like that, if I had the opportunity to get out, I would go before the fire even got in it.
All right, so there were some outtakes from interviews. Very clearly, it means that fire would be a stressful and traumatic situation that people really do need to plan and be prepared for. As we saw in the first video.
That gentleman, the gentleman who spoke, he had it with the moustache. He actually had a very, very well prepared property and extremely well prepared home. And he actually ended up with a kangaroo in his home, which scared them. And that's why and that was part of the trauma, was the wildlife surrounding the home they never thought of.
Yes, not all wildlife hops around on two legs either, does it?
No, snake.
You get reptiles and spiders and all sorts of things.
Like
Yeah.
when we're in Sydney.
Exit roads may be blocked, which we saw in the little video. Ember attacks cause fires to spread quickly and well ahead of the fire front, and radiant heat, of course, can be lethal. Your ability to make good decisions will be impacted by many factors. Having a plan really, really helps. Okay, how do we know if there is a fire or if one has started or going to start? And this is a question for chat. How would you know if there was a fire in the area? Participants.
Where do you rely on to get your information, Jade? If there's a fire. So Jade mentions that she will be seeing smoke or smelling smoke, the Vic Emergency app, and her partner or her husband Tyson's pager.
Right. Yes, that would be a very good indicator that there's a fire in the area, that last one. Jade, like everyone, you've got a number of sources of income. A number of sources of information.
I wish, she said.
Edit that one out. Yeah. Oh dear. Information I'm talking about, and which ones do you trust? And in what situations do you trust them? And so you have mentioned a pager from a firefighter. That's a good source. And you also mentioned the
Vic Emergency app.
Fantastic, because that is one that we promote. It's not the CFAs, but it is one that we promote, and I will explain why in a second. Again, you need to sort out the sources of information. If you hear something in the street, well, at least then you know that there's something to check out. So, you know, you wouldn't just ask someone in the street if you should buy a house. You'd go to credible sources. And so the same with fire threat. You need the information to be accurate and reliable. We have a screen here that shows us some sources that are way more accurate and reliable than others, with our fabulous Vic Emergency app down in the left-hand corner, which is the envy of the other states, Lisa. They seem to copy Victoria on this one.
They do.
Not only does it tell you when an event or when and where an event has started, there are many other things there, one of which is the fire danger rating, which I'll be talking about in a second. Also, the warnings systems and advice. So I'll be going through that as well. You can double reference that with your news, the more local, the better, and online, Emergency Management Victoria. And the others are really where there are hearing or language difficulties. A fabulous fire danger rating system is one of the features on the Vic Emergency app. It is local to the south, or to the regions we're in Victoria, so southwest region more broadly rather than Cressy. And you'll be able to tell from the information there what kind of localities are being mentioned for the warnings. Fire danger rating system, you'll have seen the signs on the road, find it on the TV, Vic Emergency app, as I mentioned. But what is it all about? We have another poll, Lisa.
Beautiful.
There's a bit of confusion about what the fire danger ratings actually mean. And of course, to understand it means you understand what you're being told when that black arrow starts to move through the colours.
So you think what to expect from a fire? No, because I've got, how do you know if there's a fire, what to expect from a fire? So is it number 3?
Yes,
ratings.
Should be.
Oh, that talks about
the fire danger rating. What does?
No, this one here. This one here talks about what do you think would impact your ability.
It's the next one.
Next one.
Yes, we've covered that material.
Yep, it's just got a funny title, doesn't it? So there we go. There's the poll in progress.
Beautiful.
What does the fire danger rating mean? 3
questions, Jade, but all answers are anonymous and we can't tell who has answered what.
What does the fire danger rating mean?
Okay. It's
no answers yet. I think she's having a bit of a thinking, putting her thinking cap on.
Well, if she thought the second option was the better one, she'd be right.
Yeah. Oh, here we go, popped up.
Well done.
Okay, the results. Okay, what does a fire danger rating mean? The fire danger rating is an indicator of how bad a fire would be if one were to start. Yes, tick.
Absolutely. The other
tick. Okay.
Likely it is a fire would start. Kind of not, but not really. It's about how bad a fire would be. How many services would be required to deal with it? How many Code Red Hat days have we had?
Oh, and Jade says 2.
Well, if she was talking about Victoria, she would probably be right.
Yep.
Yes, but for Southwest, we haven't had any in the last 5 years. Even that really serious summer, 2 summers ago.
Not code red. We've had lots of total fire ban days. We haven't had the code red yet.
Total fire ban is a different thing. And
Yep,
have
so
you had extreme days in the last 5 years?
Jade mentioned 6.
Yes, and she would be right. In fact, it's more than 6. We didn't give you the...
It is, isn't it? Yep.
We had 1 year where there were 7 severe days, no extreme and no code red. So that's skewing our answer a bit. If we hadn't had that, it would be 6.
Yep. Well done, Jade.
Yeah. So
Well done.
what we're promoting from those questions is that there aren't very many in a season. 2 or 3 days, maybe, in a really severe season, 5, 6. So what we are speaking about is Southwest region in particular. There haven't been any code red days in Southwest for the last 5 years.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, so if you were to make a plan and use the fire danger ratings as a trigger for those, for example, on a severe day, we will do such and such, that will work for you, and you will be enacting that plan on average 3 to 5 times in the summer. If you had something different to do at extreme, that would be enacted 2-3 times in an average in a summer. And for the purposes of the fire services, code red and extreme are the same. So for people who wait for things to move from extreme to code red, that is not a great way of dealing with the fire danger ratings, because for the fire services, they're the same. The difference, and you'll see that there's a gap between extreme and code red.
Yep. And
the difference is that the code red refers to all emergency authorities in Victoria. So hospitals, all sorts of things, SES and all sorts of things. If all of those services were involved in sorting out the fire, then they have a judgment that it would be worse than extreme, it would be code red.
And this is when like the school implements plans, like if you get, so code red would generally be declared 3 days beforehand, pending the weather. There's lots of factors that go into declaring a code red. So like schools in high fire danger risk areas won't open on a day of code red. So that's important. So why we have the code red for people as well. Yeah. And there's a different plan that we enact in the brigade if there's a day of code red as well.
Okay, so that's about that first question. Fire danger ratings don't tell you how likely it is a fire will start. In summertime, there's always a chance. It will tell you how difficult a fire would be. Okay, so on a day of severe fire danger rating, we expect hot, dry and possibly windy conditions. If a fire starts and takes hold, it may be uncontrollable. Extreme rating, that centre one, expect extremely hot, dry and windy conditions. If a fire starts and takes hold, it will be uncontrollable, unpredictable and fast moving. Spot fires will move quickly and will come from many directions. And as you've probably guessed, code red are the worst conditions for bush or grass fire. Homes are not designed or constructed to withstand fires in these conditions. The safest place, as we've already mentioned, is to be away from high risk areas on days signified code red, that's for sure. Leaving high risk areas the night before or early in the day is your safest option. When the CFA says leave and leave early, it's not talking about some time before lunch. It's talking about well before lunch, early in the day or indeed the night before. Avoid forested areas, thick bush and long dry grass. Know your trigger. It'll be in your written plan and you will have practiced it. The trigger to make a decision to take certain actions. When you will leave, where you'll go, how you get there, when you return, what you will do if you can't leave. Now, the CFA has publications to help people form their plans by asking the right sorts of questions. So they're available to be downloaded from the CFA website. Okay, at the bottom of the advice warnings, we have a do not wait for a warning, and there is a very good reason for that. With these warnings, and advice will appear once phone calls have started to go into the emergency number 000. When an incident has happened, watch and act will occur when the incident becomes more serious, threatening to people in the areas, or alternatively, as a severe incident is winding down. And an emergency warning is when it's severe, people are going to be impacted by the incident that has occurred or is occurring.
Yeah.
There are also evacuation notices. Prepare to evacuate, evacuate now. We strongly advise that people don't wait for those warnings. Community information is a different thing. These all turn up on the Vic Emergency app. Community information are basically newsletters that an incident control centre or an incident controller puts out, letting people know what's happening in the area, if fires are being dampened down, if the fire is contained, if the fire has changed direction, those sorts of things. Here is why you don't wait for a warning. Let's say there's a timeline, a fire starts over there on the left. It will only be publicised once people start calling in 000. And that usually happens within the first few minutes of the fire starting because people are pretty aware of what might happen. Now I'm just going to see if this works. There's our fire starting. There's our fire being reported, usually by more than one person. Once it's reported and the record is made, the brigades are notified pretty much at the same time as it goes up on the Vic Emergency app. However, as the situation develops, the time for the warnings to issue can change because the reports need to be written, clarified, approved, and then issued. So already we start to be behind the fire with our warnings. In 10 minutes, let's say the fire is approaching the yard, your yard, coming upon the property. And an advice message relating to those first phone calls is coming in. There is a fire in the area, more information to come. At 20 minutes, the fire could even be past your property before Vic Emergency has had the opportunity to accurately update the information. So things can move really quickly, starting with that fire moving quickly. Update to the emergency warning happens at the 20-minute mark. Typically, the fire might already be past your house at that stage. In 30 minutes, it's well past.
And Jade, like you mentioned, your husband is with the Brigade. And so as you'd be aware, the turnout time for the Brigade to man a truck could still be up at that 20-minute mark, especially at this time of year when there's harvest and the farmers are in which direction. And then already you're 20 minutes behind the 8 ball when we turn out. Yeah, definitely. It is true. Yeah, and it's hard. Like you've only got one truck, and then being a Cressy, you'll be relying on Lismore to drop down. Possibly, who else would you'd get Inverleigh coming up from the bottom end, you get Berry Bank, so it'll take quite a while to be actually on the fire ground and attacking the fire.
So once the advice has issued, that's well timed to take action and other information using your senses, such as what are you seeing? You're seeing smoke, smelling smoke, and are you hearing unusual activity? For example, sirens. This is an emergency situation by the time your senses are telling you these things. This is not the time to start a plan. However, this is the time to start what you've planned to do should you not be able to leave early.
And this is why it's important too, Jade, on a day when it's hot, is we all love to sit inside with the air conditioning on, the curtains down, because it helps keep the house cooler. It's generally a really good idea to either go outside and check around in all directions around your home. So every 10, 15 minutes, if you're a bit worried, if not, leave the curtains open so you can keep an eye out what's going outside.
Absolutely correct. Okay, so up until now, we've spoken about the risks in your local area, what it would be like to experience a fire, and you have had some experience, ways to stay informed and know if there is a fire. Now we're going to go through a hypothetical situation so we can see how this plays out in a more realistic way than the one that we've just done. So again, let's pretend that it's 8 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday morning. And you look outside and you can see that it's already hot and windy. The morning news is reporting that today is a day of extreme fire danger rate in the southwest region. You jump in the car to shoot off to work or to go into, let's say, Lismore, and you can see little branches falling from the trees and you can feel the heat. It's one of those good old Australian summer days, heat coming through the glass. And you're in Lismore and it's about lunchtime and you overhear people talking about a fire that has started near Cressy. And so you have a look at your phone, the Vic Emergency app, and find out whereabouts. And you see that it has started near a short distance near your house. So naturally you hop in the car, start heading back to make sure everything's okay. And as you get closer to Cressy, you see the road is blocked by police. So you wind down your window. They advise it isn't safe to go through to Cressy because a fire is burning and trees are starting to come down on the road. You'll have to find somewhere else to go until the road is reopened. What does this mean for you? Lisa, there's another poll. Going to ask a few questions. You can choose to answer them, or if you feel, Lisa, Jade, that they're a bit too personal, you can pretend. We won't know.
Jade, do you have a fire plan? Poll. And Jade mentioned she has a plan that is sort of.
Yes.
So hopefully we can help you further develop your plan. Okay, let's go. Let's see what you're going to say in your poll. Is the poll still there? Because I think yep.
Yeah.
There's your poll.
Where would you be on your average Wednesday in summer? And it's a single choice there.
Yep, work, home, vacation. What's that? I've forgotten what it is. What's a vacation?
I don't know. We've been in Victoria. We don't know what vacation is anymore. Thinking about last summer, would you have been prepared to spend a few nights away from home in an emergency situation like this? And that question and the third one are related. Last summer, did you have an emergency?
Oh. Jade, try again. It says disappeared. I'm not sure why. Hang on. Let me give it another go. relaunch. I'll relaunch it because I'm not sure what happened, Jade. Sorry, try again, darling. Like it's only 3 questions. Sorry. Yep, here we go. Better. Okay, in polling, share results. Okay, where would you be on an average Wednesday in summer? You'll be home.
All of our audience will be at home.
Thinking about last summer, would you have been prepared to spend a few nights away from home in an emergency situation like this? Yes.
Well done.
Okay, 2 out of 3. Pressure's on. Okay, last summer, did you have an emergency kit packed with some clothes, important documents, photos, and medicine? No. Okay, hopefully we can help you develop one.
My audience says yes. Yes, they were prepared, and yes, they had the kit.
Oh, yes, sorry, you did. I was looking in the wrong. It was a yes. Sorry, Jade. I flicked too much. Oh, yeah, lucky Carrie's here. Sorry, Jade. 3 out of 3.
Charger for the phone, medicines, those sorts of things. Some people have them near to the car, back door, front door, that sort of thing. Personally, I have mine in the car because usually when I'm away from home, I'm there by car. What about you, Lisa?
I have one packed inside, but I have one, so we have the children, but as we're on the farm and my husband and I are both CFA, our plan is actually to stay and defend.
Oh,
I know it's not what you need to hear, but yeah, we're glassland and we have a plan for home. But if we had to leave, yes, we've got the kit, and we're on, some of us are on medication, but we don't keep the medication in our box. I just keep a script, because then when you're evacuated, they will always open up a hospital pharmacy or something for people who need their medication.
So pleased that you mentioned that. And it doesn't have to be a paper. You don't have to keep all your papers in a great big box, do you? You can keep electronic
USB
these days.
Yep. Jade, do you have children or pets that you would take with you? Pets. Do you have a kit ready for your pets to take? See what Jade says now. Jade does it. Oh, she hasn't answered yet. So we've asked. So Jade does have pets. Kerry, we'll wait to see if she's got a kit or anything. No, we have pet bowls and a first aid kits in the car. Oh, you're close though. Yeah, you're nearly there for your pets.
Yes.
Maybe a few little toys, a spare dog lead and a spare collar if they're dogs, just because if you're in a, yep, and leashes at the back door. It's always a good idea to have spare of all of that in the car, just in case you haven't got time to go to the back of the house. You just grab your dogs, throw them in the car and leave. So then you've got like food, any water, like bottles of water in a kit for your dogs, as well as the food containers, and then a little few treats and a little few toys for them. Then off you go. Like, you're not worrying about going to the back of the house just for a dog lead.
Yes. Now, Jade, we're at the 8 o'clock mark. We've still got a couple of slides, well, a few slides to go. But if you had only planned to be here for an hour and you need to go, that's fine. If you'd like to stay on with us, terrific. We will be taking this through to the very last slide, won't we, Lisa?
Yep.
10 minutes worth, I think.
Jade, I'm happy to stay. We're happy to have you.
We are very happy to have you. Okay, so we've got a second hypothetical, and it's based on the same circumstances as the first. This time, when you jump on the Vic Emergency app, while you're in Lismore, you see that the fire is still a little while away. The little yellow shaded area on the phone doesn't quite reach Cressy yet, and you think to yourself, I've got enough time to run home and grab some important stuff. So you drive back to Cressy, and as you get out of the car in your driveway, you can smell smoke. And it's really windy and really, really hot. You check the app again and you see the little yellow triangle, which marks where the event is happening, is just a bit closer to Cressy, but you think you've got plenty of time. It's still an advice message. So you run around the house because you know you need to be quick, grabbing important things, and you start running them out to the car, and every now and then you check your phone to see if you're being told to evacuate, but there still isn't anything there. So you assume you've still got time. You're running through a list in your head. It's assorted, photos, birth certificates, passports, medication. Where did you put your phone after all that? Where are the charges? What else will you need? Oh, the prescriptions. You notice little
rates notice that will get you in the quickest as a proof of identity of your property.
That's right. Crumbs. Thinking of these things, where were they? They were out when you were having the plan, but now where are they? You notice little patches of smoke coming up from the garden bed, and particularly that pile of leaves that you've been meaning to deal with. The smoke is starting to arc. Embers are falling near your home, and you can feel that surge of adrenaline pump through your body, and you realise you're out of time. Now what are you going to do? Where can you go? You can see the flames. Can you still drive out of the street? Is there somewhere safe that you can go to, or do you stay at home? Were you meant to communicate with someone? What about that neighbour that you said you'd help out? Do you grab the garden hose, try and put things out? So what is the one thing that you could have done differently? These are all decisions that you have to make in the scenario, and that's without taking other people into consideration. We didn't talk about kids. Are they at school? Are they at home? We didn't talk about a neighbour or relative that depends on you. We didn't talk about larger pets like horses. We didn't talk about other aspects of the garden, like if trees have come down across the house or across the road. And all of these things are very possible in a matter of moments. And we're only sitting here at our computer screens talking about them, but it feels more real than probably you thought it might. What's the one thing that you could have done differently to avoid being in this situation? And I think we've given plenty, in the chat, it's a chat, not a poll. We've given a few hints as to what could possibly have happened. Have we got anything in chat, Lisa? Not yet? Okay, I'll move it over.
Not yet. Oh, hang on, we do now. Having a bag packed ready to go and leave earlier. Good choice.
Fantastic. Naturally, as CSA representatives, we approve. Make a plan, be prepared, know what you will do. Make a plan detailed so that it can be referred to in a situation of heightened alert or indeed stress. You've got the Vic Emergency app already, so we don't need to advise you to do that. And there are publications that the CFA has that give you information on how to prepare your property, and there are workshops that are going to be planned pretty soon that take things to the next level for making a plan, for preparing the property and activities that may happen there. We have publications called How to Prepare Your Property, as well as Your Guide to Survival. They are both booklets that really will help. Now, at the end of this session, if you're not taken to a website from the CFA, Jade, there is a, what do you call them? A QR code. So if you take a photo of that, you'll be able to use it and go through to the things that I'm mentioning now. One thing with the plan, COVID-19, if there are still restrictions, it's worth checking plans to see that they will actually work. For example, if your plan is to go somewhere like a cinema or something, worthwhile checking that it's actually going to be open, because you might need to have an alternative plan in the COVID-19 restrictions situation. If you're going to stay with elderly relatives or friends, are they immune compromised? Will the plan still work? Now we get to a very serious point of our business, which is what survival options do you have if your fabulous plans don't work? These are not aspects of a plan itself after this slide, but they will help in an emergency situation. First of all, on a day of severe extreme code red, it's important to cover up using natural fibres, cotton, linen, wool. They can provide protection from radiant heat and won't immediately burst into flames if an ember were to land on them. And covering as much skin as possible, as you can see by the diagram, is really important. So boots and not thongs, trousers not shorts, jeans of course are made of denim, which is cotton, just make sure there's not too much synthetic in there. Hats and eye protection, and guess what there is at sea? Masks. Every household should have some. As we saw in one of the little videos, sheltering behind or inside solid objects such as a house, possibly a water tank, possibly rocks, depending, can provide some protection. It's all a matter of timing. It's still likely that these may catch fire, but at least you are afforded some protection and can move as the fire moves through. It's necessary to look for a place that has less fuel, and in fact your planning should cover this sort of thing as well, but like an ultra emergency. A place with fewer trees, shorter grass, moving water, or very large amounts of water, like a large dam or a river. A swimming pool, no, won't do it. I wouldn't advise that at all. In Cressy, you are fortunate enough to have 2 neighbourhood safer places or bushfire place of last resort. The 2 green signs over on the left-hand side are the signage that's used for those. And in Cressy, it is the public hall. Inside, if you get there early enough, and at the grassy area at the front, when the crowd really starts to build. They are not promising to keep you safe, but they're a better option than most. They've been designated as places of last resort, so they won't be part of your plan. They will be a good place to go to in case of emergency. They won't be comfortable. And then there won't be coffee trucks. There may not even be toilets, but at least there will be less fuel for a moving fire to grab hold of as it passes through. Offers a chance of some distance between you and the radiant heat. Lisa, do you have any comments on that one?
Sorry.
Okay. The following images may be distressing for some people. It's another PowerPoint slide that has 5 photographs on it. So if you're not inclined to look at it, now's the time to look away from the screen. The message here is to not drive through fire. Heavy smoke makes it impossible to see, like really impossible. And driving in these conditions means the vehicle could hit a car, another vehicle, run off the road, become in more danger than it's already in. So it's not a great idea.
Plus, we want you to leave early so you don't face driving through fire, and especially like to drive a fire truck through, you're putting everybody who's on the truck and yourself at more at risk. And also, while the fire's happening, the electricity's gone and a lot of the electric fences are down, therefore you've got a lot more livestock on the road.
Yes, as well as the wildlife that we mentioned before. Now, you may have heard that sheltering in a car is possible. It is, but it's an incredibly risky thing to do. So really shouldn't feature as part of your plan, but as a survival action in very significant threat, it's worthwhile knowing. But the CFA's point of view is that cars are designed to transport you from A to B. They're not designed to protect you from fire. If you need to, taking your car behind a large point of shelter. And there are also other activities. We've got publications on those, but it's just really advisable to not be in that situation in the first place. Have we mentioned that it's worthwhile making a plan? Of the resources, your guide to survival, your guide to property preparation, are particularly worthwhile looking at. A written plan, there are planning formats available on the website and bushfire planning workshops being developed. Also connect with your local brigade and community. Have a chat with them about property preparation, actions and likelihood for the summer season, all those sorts of things. If you have any feedback about the session that you'd like to give to the CFA, this is your district headquarters in Colac, and that's the phone number there. If the QR code works, you could be taken to a little questionnaire as well. If any of the information in our webinar has been of some emotion or distress to you, support is available. We promote Beyond Blue, Lifeline, and of course at the first point talking to someone you trust, a family member or friend. Okay, this is our last slide, Jade. So thank you so much for coming along tonight. We really appreciate it. If you take a photo of the QR code, that can take you through to that page that I was mentioning before. There's also a website given there for the resources. So Lucy and I are going to stay online for 10 minutes if you have any further questions or comments you'd like to make. Otherwise, we hope the rest of your evening is enjoyable. Thank you for taking the time to participate in tonight's session.
Thank you, Jade.
Thank you. Now, what I'm going to do is stop the recording, if I remember how to do it.
Jade mentioned, can you read it out? She says, thanks so much, ladies, for my specialised information session. Thanks so much, ladies, for my specialised information session. Appreciate your time. You're more than welcome.
Jade, you're worth it.
Yep. Jade, the only thing is, I'd just like, you're talking earlier before about your